BeamNG has quite a collection of cars. I wanted to see what was the fastest race car in BeamNG, but couldn't find a suitable answer. So I tested it on my own and pitted most of the race cars against each other. The cars that were picked are the result of searching for race in the vehicle selector. For this to be a fair race, we need some rules. 1. Each car has 3 laps with 1 warm-up. 2. All timed laps are flying laps. 3. Only the fastest lap will be used for standings. 4. All cars will get points based on their finishing order. 5. All cars will be driven as they come out of the box, no tuning allowed. Disclaimer, before we start, I'm in no way the best driver, and I know some of you will be a lot faster than I am. My driving style might not suit all of the cars in this list. If you disagree with my findings, you are more than welcome to tell me in the comments or make a video of your own. First, we have Automation Test Track, and it's one of the newest tracks added to BeamNG. It is 4.7 kilometers, 2.9 miles long, and has 14 corners, making it the longest track in this competition. It has a good mix of slow and fast corners, making it ideal for testing cars. Let's do a track rundown. Turns 1 and 2 are quite tricky, with turn 2 having a nasty bump on the apex. Turn 3 is a really long left-hander, which really tests the car's front-end grip. Turn 4 is quite a quick left-hander. Turn 5 can get a bit tricky if you mess up turn 4. Turn 6 is a banked right-hander, which can critically affect your speed on the straight. Speaking of the main straight of the track, it requires high-speed stability with its distinguished kink, and getting things wrong here causes some really big crashes. Turn 8 should also be mentioned for it being one of, if not the most difficult corner in this track, just because of the high approach speed and it being a decreasing radius corner, which can be really tricky to get right. Turns 9 and 10 are a slow-speed chicane. The corner entry is your typical slow-speed corner, but the exit of 10 is really narrow because of the tight angle of turn 9. Turn 11 is similar to turn 3, but it's not nearly as tight. Turn 12 has a really unique braking zone and causes issues to many of the cars when trying to slow down. Turn 13 is very unique with it going uphill. Its acceleration zone can be a bit tricky when it changes gradient. Turn 14 is your typical 90-degree corner with a wide exit. Now let's see a couple of the cars running in this competition. First off, we have Hirochi Sunburst, one of 2 Sunbursts in this race, this one being the manual version. It is 5 kilos lighter, but shifts slower than its DCT counterpart. The Sunburst has some issues. It has a tendency for wheel hopping caused by stiff suspension. But that being said, it's really good to drive and has a good power-to-weight ratio. Ibishu Pessima Touring is nice to drive, but being so low can have some issues with curbs damaging the car. It can also have some issues with understeer given its front-wheel drive layout, but it can still be really quick and it changes direction like no other. What it's lacking on a straight line, it claws back in the corners. ETK 800 Series 844 track is overall nice to drive, but has some issues. Having an open differential, it can struggle to get power to the ground. Curbs also would sometimes unsettle the car, causing the rear end to start sliding. And worst of all, it felt underpowered. Autobello Piccolina course track. Don't let its cute appearance fool you. The Piccolina is a really quick and nimble car to drive, but has some problems. It can have some annoying oversteer on fast long corners and struggles with understeer on corner exit, with it being rear-engined. Soliad Lansdale. A people carrier in this? Yes, and it will be quicker than you think. Thanks to its long wheelbase, it's really easy to drive. Also being really good on brakes, and with it being moderately light, it can have some surprising results. Ibishu Pessima track is really nice to drive, but can have some issues with bouncing on curbs. With it being all-wheel drive, it gets out of corners really well. On high-speed sections, it has a hint of understeer. Civetta Bolide 350 is a quick car when you get things right with it, but it can be a handful with it being a bit twitchy. ETK I-Series. The I-Series is a nice car to drive, but it sometimes struggles with its rear-end stability on slow to medium-speed corners. Gavril D-Series. Being the only truck in this competition, I didn't expect for it to fare so well. Yes, its high weight can be felt in the corners and in the braking zones, but it's still no slouch. Being fairly large and having wide tires, it's surprisingly good on corners. The D-Series gets out of corners really well with it being four-wheel drive, and it doesn't spend any time spinning its wheels. And with its surprisingly good high-speed stability, it had no issues on the faster sections. With the first round complete, let's check the times. The Bolide Group 5 winning here doesn't surprise me at all with it being great with this sort of track. The Pessima Touring surprised me with its great time given it's not too fast on the straights. The time difference with the two Sunburst is really surprising with them being so far apart. The Blue Buck did really well, but that was expected. I had some real issues with getting the Bolide Club to work on this track, and I think the lap times really reflect that. And now for our second round, we have Hirochi Raceway. It is 3.3 kilometers, 2 miles long, making it the shortest track in this race. It has 17 corners, most in this competition. It favors cars with excellent cornering stability and front-end grip. Track rundown. Turn 1 is quite long and requires front-end grip, and you need to keep a tight line on the exit for turn 2. Turns 2 and 3 are almost like a really quick chicane. Turn 4 is a medium-speed right-hander, and its exit can be a bit tricky with its gradient. Turn 5 is nothing special if you get your braking right. Turn 6 is one of the more unique turns in this track and is quickly followed by Turn 7. Turn 7 has a nasty bump on the exit. Turn 8 caused some issues to the cars with its downhill braking zone. Turns 9 and 10 are a really fast and tight chicane, and it can make or break your laps. Turn 11 is an easy corner to misjudge with it being fast and wide, but you need to keep a tight exit for Turn 12. Turn 12 is a surprisingly quick left-hander. Turns 13 to 16 are sweeping S's and can be a lot of fun when getting them right. Turn 17 can cause issues with its late apex and downwards gradient. And let's see more cars. ETK K-Series feels really planted on the track, but it has some issues on the rear end on corner exit. The combination of the chassis and the driveline make it extremely fast. Brookel Moonhawk is your quintessential American muscle car, but with this being the race-spec'd one, it's really nice in the corners, and it's overall good to drive. The rear end can get a bit loose on mid and corner exits. Having the power of the big V8 on the front makes it quite fast on track. Ibishu Pigeon. The four-wheeled Pigeon has some issues when compared to its competition. Its short wheelbase causes the car to be kind of a handful at times, and it suffers from snap oversteer. And it being so narrow, it can have a tendency to roll over in tight corners. But when you get it right, it can be a really fun car to drive. Hirochi Sunburst DCT. Being the second Sunburst in this race, compared to its manual version, it is just a hair heavier, but shifts a lot faster. The Sunburst can sometimes have some issues with staying on its wheels. Hirochi SBR4. The car has some big issues with its rear end, and I had to double check to make sure it wasn't the drift version. It feels very nervous, even on straights. Compared to its hill climb version, it has some issues with high-speed stability, probably caused by the lack of rear end downforce. Gavril Grand Marshal surprised me with how easy it is to drive. I was fearing the worst with it being really heavy, but the Grand Marshal feels really refined. It has wide tires that help its braking and cornering speeds. Cherrier Vivace feels like cheating given on how easy it is to drive and how forgiving the design is. With its boost by gear to reduce wheel spin on slow corners and its huge amounts of grip, though it can have some issues with understeer and bouncing on curbs. Gavril Blue Buck. For its size, the Blue Buck is not too bad to drive, and it demands respect on the track with its surprisingly fast lap times. Most of the issues that I had were to do with its brakes overheating thanks to its high weight. Other issues were its sluggish performance on really slow corners with its long gearing. It can leave you waiting for power, but on the other hand, its long gearing is really fast on straights for not needing to shift so often. Brookel Legrand. Apart from sounding like a broken trumpet, the Legrand handles great and is decently fast. It has a bit of understeer, and I would like for it to have just a bit more power, with it feeling that it could go a lot faster. And after the second round is done, the standings look like this. I wasn't expecting to see the Pessima touring on the top. The Bolide Group 5 fared really well with me struggling with it on such a tight track. The manual Sunburst being faster wasn't something that I expected after round 1. The Grand Marshal did really well for being such a heavy car. The SBR4 had an awful time here on this tight track. The Piccolina managing to beat so many cars was a real surprise. And for our last track, we have West Coast, USA, it being 4.3 kilometers, 2.6 miles, long and has 15 corners. This track has some really big braking zones and long sweeping corners. Track rundown. Turn 1 has a really difficult braking zone going downhill, and it's really easy to outbrake yourself. Turn 2 is a quick left going uphill, and some of the cars managed it without needing to brake. Turn 3 has quite fast speeds, and it's easy to miss the apex. Turn 4 also has a downhill braking zone and can be somewhat tricky. Turns 5 and 6 are a hairpin chicane, and running even a bit wide on turn 5 can mess up your entry to turn 6. Turn 7 is crucial to get right to maximize speed on the back straight. Turn 8 also has a downhill braking zone and is the real test for brakes. Turn 9 is an upwards going right turn and has a small bump on the inside of the exit. Turn 10 has a nice feel to it with the entry from turn 9. Turns 11 and 12 are a really challenging chicane with it having an extreme gradient. Turn 13 is flat on almost all of the cars. Turns 14 and 15 are the last chicane on this track, and it is surprisingly tight on the exit. And now let's see our last cars. Ibishu Covet is stupidly fast in the straights. It can have some issues with low-speed corners with it not getting power to the ground and just spinning its wheels. But on most corners, it's a pleasure to drive with its predictable lift-off oversteer. Brukel Bastion has to be the best handling American V8 in the game. It's very playful to drive, but the rear end can catch you out when pushing too hard. Civetta Scintilla has really nice power delivery thanks to its naturally aspirated engine. It could do with a hair more grip in the rear end since it has a tendency to slide in mid and corner exit. Ibishu Covet Mr. Turbo feels like it has been created by a mad scientist in an attempt to convert the already great Covet into a racing and rally monster. It can be tricky to drive, with it having some snap oversteer and lack of front-end grip, but it's also seriously fast in the straights and can be good on corners if you can keep it under control. Ibishu BX series is nicely balanced and offers some great performance, but it can get a bit loose on exit. Ibishu Miramar. It has to be one of my favorite cars in this list. With it being really predictable in almost all circumstances, it can have some issues on corner exit. Civetta Bolide Group 5 is insanely fast on the straights and in the corners, and can have really fast lap times, but that requires that you can tame this beast. It can get really tricky to drive with its relatively narrow front tires and turbo lag. Solead Wendover feels like it could do with a bit more power on the straights, but in the corners, it feels nice and quick thanks to its wide tires. Having the same engine as the Legrand and Lansdale, it can feel like the slowest of the bunch. For the final round, times looked like this. Scintilla winning here wasn't a big surprise with it faring really well on this kind of track. The SBR4 surprised me with its great time, it being horrible to drive. Both of the Covets did really well with them having really good acceleration. I feel like the Blue Buck could have been faster. The Pigeon definitely doesn't belong on this track. Now that all of the cars have done their laps, We can check the final standings. The Scintilla winning didn't surprise me at all. The K-Series being third surprised me with it not winning any races. I expected the DCT Sunburst to win, but I didn't expect the gap to be so small. The SBR4's placement was saved with its great lap on the last race. Wendover was quite a bit faster than I expected. The D-Series did better than I expected it to do. I was expecting the Bolide 350 to be much faster than it ended up being. Pigeon being the slowest didn't surprise anyone. And with that, our race car test comes to an end. But this being BeamNG, we can't have a video without some crashes. Here are most of the crashes that happened during the recording of this video. Now that we have seen some grade A BeamNG crashes, I would like to thank you for watching this video to the very end, and I would appreciate any feedback you might have.